Welcome to another edition of Pedal Talk. And today we've got a really special guest. He is a personal trainer that he focuses on cycling. He is a certified personal trainer, but his development and his years of experience have been focused around cycling and developing new strategies as well as technique for training not only average cyclists, but elite athletes in that arena. It's Dr. Vint Schoenfeldt. He's the founder of VeloCoach, and he's been involved in cycling for about 35 years in racing, training, and coaching. He pretty well, like me, we were all interested in Greg LeMond's Tour de France victories, and that's when he became interested in cycling. I date him a little bit. I became interested back in the breaking away days. Since that time, though, he has raced extensively in the U.S. and Europe. He After falling in love with cycling, he decided to study exercise physiology and basically to understand how to improve cycling performance. That led to a doctorate degree in physiotherapy that he still practices and led him all the way to being a team physiotherapist for the U.S. mountain bike team at the World Championships. He teaches blood flow restriction nationally, and he basically says it's an amazing tool for training on a bike to improve strength and cardiovascular performance. And he's also, like I said, a certified strength and conditioning specialist through the National Strength and Conditioning Association, certified coach, and Training Peaks Level 2 credential. If you studied all that or didn't take notes, I'm sure he's going to fill you in. But I'd like to welcome Vint Schoenfeldt, who I did have the pleasure at one point being on the same Team Groove Subaru XL Sports with him, and it was humbling to train with him. But Vint, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So tell me a little bit more about your cycling past, other than
well, as you mentioned,
go in love with Greg LeMond and that era.
Absolutely. I was inspired by the LeMond era when it used to be on like CBS or whatever, one day a week. They showed the Tour de France with all the John Tesh music and everything. That started the interest in the sport. And my sister actually was a triathlete long before that, and she had a real lightweight bike. And at the time, I was a baseball player. I played baseball in high school and college, and I took her bike out one time just for a spin around the block, and I was just so amazed at how light it was and how fun it was to ride. So when I was playing baseball in college, I got kind of tired of just, I was getting tired of the sport, honestly. And I enjoyed the running aspect of conditioning for pitching. So I wanted something more aerobic. And so I got into cycling, and the rest is history pretty much. It's been probably close to 40 years now. So it's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. If you're 40 years into cycling, that puts me, well, I'd rather not say way more.
Under 40, but it's getting there.
It is the one sport that I noticed you literally in your 40s and 50s, you can actually keep improving and getting faster.
Absolutely. It's a lifelong sport. That's the beauty of it.
I know when I started cycling, there were we kind of had coaches, but they were just basically told us to do sprints up hills.
Yeah.
That's really dating.
Yeah. Well, even back then, all we had were heart rate monitors, and that was even a new technology at the time. Prior to that, it was just rate of perceived exertion. You just rode, you just went out for a ride, and there wasn't much structure. You just kind of rode, but things have changed big time. It's amazing the difference from today and back then, how the technology's changed.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty amazing. I started cycling. Oh my gosh. I think my first race was 1976.
No kidding.
So, yeah, I remember. Go ahead. What?
So that beats me by a decade. Mine was 1986. So that was.
Yeah, the bikes today are probably less than half the weight.
Oh yeah.
That I was riding on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you had a 22-pound bike back then, that was ultra light. That was like the Eddie Merckx frame from Belgium. So
yeah, I remember when Columbus XLS, or what was it? Columbus SLX tubing came out.
Yeah, that was
in the mid 80s.
Yeah, that was top of the line, man.
that was really good. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a fun little trip down memory lane.
Absolutely.
But where did you race? Tell us about where you raced and what was your first race?
My first race was the Moab stage race in college. I was working at a bike shop, and I'd ride my bike to work and back. So it was like a all-out sprint for 20 minutes, like just high intensity. It's all I was doing, it seemed. And I went down to the Moab stage race. The first stage was a road race in Arches National Park. And I remember getting dropped big time. I mean, it was like 44 miles, I think. And I got dropped, and just, it was horrible. But then that afternoon we had a time trial, a 10-mile time trial. And I took third in the time trial because I was so, specific in my training. It was like high intensity or nothing. So time trial worked out great. And then the next day we had the criterium, and I won the criterium. So, just right there is like a glimpse into the specificity of training, that kind of like really surprised me. Like, how could I get dropped in a road race and then come back and win the crit the next day, So that was my first race, and then I was hooked ever since. Yeah.
Well, if you ever wonder how you can get dropped in a road race, I can help you out with that. When I probably the first time I went on a train when I rode Worlds with Groove. How to get dropped.
I always say that ride, the Worlds ride with Groove, is probably arguably one of the hardest group rides in the country. I mean, when they're going hard, it's just it's awesome. But it's interesting though, because like in that road race, I remember I didn't understand fueling very well. I just put pure Gatorade in my bottles back then, and I finished the race. I had this white salt line around my lips from all the just excess. Oh my gosh, I had no clue what I was doing, but nobody did back then. It was just,
well, back then nutrition was. I mean, you really didn't study it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Even back then,
it's interesting.
A Milky Way bar. That's good. There's a snack.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting. I was listening to an interview about Floyd Landis just the other day. And even back in his era, just recently in the Tour de France, when Lance was racing and everything, he said that they ate horrible. They didn't care what they ate. They ate whatever. And now today, you're seeing these guys that have coaches, they have chefs, they have their food sent to them. A lot of the pros do, just to keep their diet in line with what the coaches and the trainers and the dietitians want. So that's why I think we're seeing such incredible changes in the pro peloton these days. Hopefully it's not doping. I don't think it is as much of a problem as it used to be, even though it probably still exists a little bit. But we're seeing incredible feats like Tadej Pogacar, seeing what he's able to do. And they're saying a lot of it's just the improved nutrition and everything. It's the full picture, not just going out and training watts, So I think things have changed, and that's what we're witnessing.
It's pretty amazing. So after that, you said you raced in Europe.
Yeah. So I raced.
How did that progress from US to Europe?
Yeah. So in the States, I raced road races, criteriums, time trials, gravel. I was one of the original. I've done the Crusher race 5 times, and I did the very first edition back in 2010 before gravel was even a thing. And that was a full-on like gravel race where we had to pick our bike, and I picked a cross bike, and you had to keep the same bike the whole race and all that. So I've done all that. I've raced quite a bit in the States, but I love road racing. And what really is discouraging is in the United States, since the road racing scene is just dying. It's kind of sad to see. You see like you go out to a road race and there's 10 guys in your peloton. It's kind of crazy. The numbers are dwindling. So I started getting interested in Grand Fondos, and I'm not talking like centuries here in the United States or what they call fondos, where they kind of downplay them. Grand Fondos in Europe are races, flat out. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They are races, but they also have a component where they have a lot of rec riders who sign up for it as well. So the front part of the race or the group is a full-on race, and I love it because it's a perfect model. Like if you're familiar with GFNY, the group in New York that's worldwide now, they started doing Grand Fondos here in the States. They have the New York City World Championships, and it's the perfect model. I think it's the way of the future, and I hope it is, because it allows you to have these long point-to-point road races with marshaled intersections all the way along the way, and the way they can afford to pay for that is to have all the other riders who are not necessarily there to compete, but they want to complete the event, kind of ride behind everybody, and their entry fees pay for the marshaling of these intersections. I was shocked
It's
when I
almost
went
like
back.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just shocked when I went back to New York, and I've done that race 2 times now, I think, and it's amazing. You race through. You start on the George Washington Bridge in New York City, which they pay to shut down because they have enough money from all the entries, and then the race goes all the way up through. It was the first year was 100 miles, all the way up to Bear Mountain State Park and back, and every single intersection in that whole course had police marshaling. We never had to stop. It was a full-on race. It was amazing. Italians came over, the Colombians were there, and it's a real international field. So anyways, so that led me to Europe, where there's the Grand Fondos over there. They're races. I mean, it's a full-on, like, if you complete, compete and get in the top 10, 20% of your age group or whatever, you get to be in the elite category. You get to move up in the corral up front, which you start with all the fast guys. And I've had the opportunity to do that in Italy. I've raced at the Maratona of the Dolomites. I've done that twice. Fantastic experience. And then I went over and did the GFNY in the Alps, in the Vosgenie Alps. And I actually took second in that one. The guy from Belgium beat me pretty handily, but it was amazing. It was a full-on road race through the towns. Police marshaled, and there was no stopping. It wasn't like a century ride, but it was a full-on race. So I'm hoping that in the United States, I hope that catches on more and more, where you attract not only the guys who are there to compete at the sharp end of the spear, but also all the other riders who are just there recreationally to complete a big event. So
when you think about it, it's almost like the elite marathon model. It's almost the same as, because you have 10,000 people do the New York Marathon or plus. They're elite runners from all over the world, but the rest of that pack is what pays for New York City being shut down.
That's where GFNY started as a cycling marathon, and it's the same exact principle that they founded it, and that's how they can get it shut down. Shutting down a bridge, the George Washington Bridge is they said it's the most traveled bridge in the world, and they shut that whole thing down. I don't know how much it cost them. It must cost quite a bit, but they shut the bridge down. I can't
imagine.
For staging. We stage on the bridge. So yeah, but anyway, so that's what, going over to Europe, it's just awesome. I love racing over there because they race hard. I mean, they race hard here too, but the competition's great, and it's Europe. I mean, come on. I mean, it's like, it's the mecca of the sport. When you're in France and Italy, I mean, those in Belgium, that's where those guys, they live and breathe cycling. I mean, and they're good. They grow up on bikes, so their handling skills are unreal, and it's a great experience.
And you were over there. You got to actually watch the tour at one point or a couple points.
3 or 4 times.
Have you been able to ride any of those events, or just not the event, obviously, but have you been able to ride any of those epic rides in the Pyrenees or the Alps?
Yeah, last summer I rode Alpe d'Huez. I rode Col de la Croix de Fer and Col de Glandon, those two were part of our Grand Fondo. We went over those in the race. Alpe d'Huez was it was nearby, like 10 miles away. So we drove and we rode Alpe d'Huez. That was awesome. I've ridden the Grossglockner in Austria, which is, I think Lance Armstrong called that the hardest climb in Europe. It's just a beast. And then I've been on, I've been in the Dolomites. I've ridden overall like 7 passes there, like Passo Pordoi, Passo Sella, the famous ones from the Giro, Passo Giao, Passo Campolongo, and Valparola. So that was incredible. That to me is arguably the most beautiful place in the world to ride a bicycle. It's like a fairy tale land. It's beautiful, and the roads are pristine, and it's amazing thing.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to do that rather than the crowded roads here.
Yeah.
If I ever get a chance. So, what got you into coaching? Where'd you make the transition from racing to coaching?
So with my background, as you mentioned in the bio, I have a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science. I actually I decided to major in that in college because I was very interested in how to improve performance. The human performance through exercise was fascinating to me. So that was my first, step in this direction. I went on and got a degree, a master's degree and a doctorate in physical therapy, where I did my research on canting the foot on the pedal and seeing how it affected the firing patterns in the quadricep muscles in the leg. So that was a little more, everything was kind of geared towards cycling. I've been a student of human movement, obviously, as a physical therapist. That's what we are. We're students of human movement. So that plus just the human performance aspect of it, and it kind of made for an easy transition. And then my love of the sport, being in cycling for so many years and just wanting to share I love this sport. I love it. And I want to be able to help others attain success as well. And I saw kind of a natural progression into coaching. And I've done some informal coaching with just friends on the side and whatnot, but nothing, structured with Training Peaks and everything until more recently. So a few years ago, I just decided, this is what I want to do. I want to start into this and share the love of the sport and share my expertise. I feel I have all the necessary education that one can have to go down this route. And that's where it all kind of started. So I went into, I got certified at USA Cycling as a certified coach and credentialed, accredited with Training Peaks, and just continue to learn. I love learning, and just things are moving fast in the sport. Things are changing, and it's fun. I love it.
That's cool. I like the smile on your face just when you say that. You can tell you do love it. And the background does give it away too. I thought mine was cool. I thought my old vintage posters were kind of cool, but you kind of got me beat.
Yeah, this is the one of the pain caves here.
Your coaching service is called VeloCoach?
VeloCoach, yes.
Do you have a way to how would you describe the philosophy? What is the philosophy of VeloCoach? What do you teach? Is there a general philosophy to it?
Yeah. So as far as like training, is that kind of what you're wondering? Like the training philosophy?
Exactly.
Yeah, training philosophy is I follow more of a kind of a polarized program. That's what I really like. But there's also pyramidal, and I'll kind of explain that. Polarized is more where you train the bulk of your time. It's been also called like an 80-20, where 80% of the time is spent in a lower intensity and 20% is spent in high intensity efforts. So that's kind of the training approach that I subscribe to the most, and it's been researched and it's always been found to be superior to some of the others. There are others. One is called pyramidal, where you actually tap into some of those middle intensities as well. So you have the real low intensity. Zone 2 gets a lot of press and a lot of, it's been talked about a lot lately. It's kind of the new thing right now that people are really, really hot on. But also pyramidal includes that, but it's maybe more of a 65% of low intensity, 25% medium intensity, like tempo work, zone 3 or sweet spot work. And then the last 10% is the higher intensity. So it depends on the time of year, it depends on the athlete. But for the majority, I'd say it's the polarized approach that I subscribe to. And the beauty of it is you build with zone 2, you build a lot of mitochondrial density in your muscles. And you also make those mitochondria very efficient at basically shuttling lactate. And you want to have that mitochondrial density in the muscles to do that. So the zone 2 builds that. But then you have to layer on higher intensity. Zone 2 is kind of like that's the base. Everything we do builds off of that. So you need to have that first so that you can have an efficient shuttling mechanism to shuttle lactate out and reuse it as energy in the. So that's pretty much the philosophy. I also, as far as like just the coaching in general, there's a lot of athletes who, well, most of them, unless you're professional, you're going to have a job and a family or, other responsibilities, and you can't train 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week, or you're going to, you're just going to be way too lopsided. And I like to have a balance with my athletes. I want them to be able to live a life and do other things, and yet still achieve the goals that they want to achieve. So
Sure.
Try to find that balance, and yeah, there's a lot of art. It's not just coaching. Isn't just like prescribing watts and rides, and that's you got to you deal with the whole person, and that's a very important part if they're going to have success. So
you've trained elite athletes, obviously. So would you also be able to train somebody, let's say, wanted to do just one of the big rides in the state? Hey, I want to do the Copper Tri in 2 months, or
absolutely.
the Tour of the Moon. That's my goal. I'm not trying to, be the first across the line, but
Right.
I just want to do it with my friends, but I don't want to die. I want to enjoy it.
Surprisingly, I have probably more clients that I coach that have those goals. They don't want to get dropped by their friends, on the climb, or they want to finish some big, huge event. We do have athletes here that I've coached that have in the last couple of years here that have won state championships. I have some that have been multiple podiums, from big gravel races in Kansas to Grand Fondos, that qualify for nationals. But the majority of them, I'd say, are people that just want to get more fit, be able to hang on the rides and not get dropped, and just accomplish those kind of goals. Those are the types of athletes that I think can benefit the most oftentimes from coaching, is the ones who just need structure and just need to learn, fueling, how to fuel properly, how to recover properly, how to train, obviously, properly. So yeah, absolutely. That's probably the bulk of the athletes that are coached.
I know when I was out of cycling when I turned about 30, got back into it in my 50s after a partial knee replacement, early 50s. And I did the Elephant Rock. Decided I was going to do it. The cool thing, I was sucking wind the whole time. And really, there's not much climbing Elephant Rock. So, but I had a lot of enthusiasm. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try the triple bypass. And I did. This is long before I knew you. And I found a coach just to get a program together. And it made a world of difference, because I couldn't even talk to anybody on the Elephant Rock. 6 weeks later, I do the triple bypass, thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm chatting and enjoying the entire ride because, somebody set me up. I said, hey, I want to do this, but I do not want to die. I don't want to be in misery for that many hours. Right. And that was basically my goal. And it was great. So it's kind of I'm so glad I found somebody to coach me during that. And then that just grew on, got back into racing and thoroughly enjoyed, doing that for years. So I like the fact that you coach that you focus on that genre too. That people just want to, enjoy the ride, because those are epic rides. We're sponsoring the Tour of the Moon this year, and Tour de Vineyards and the Copper Tri. And I always tell people, hey, it's not about trying to finish it like you do your first marathon. It's a social event too. Get in good, get enough shape that you can enjoy it, not just survive it. It makes a difference. It really
absolutely
does. It makes a difference at the end. Who wants to get after a ride when there's a big, party going on or festival, whatever, and you can't even walk?
Get there. Absolutely.
So I like the fact that you do that, Vint.
Yeah, a lot of, there's a misconception oftentimes that coaching is only for the elite or only for those who want to race and get on the podium and this and that. But it's not. I mean, coaching there's so much to learn in this sport up front, especially for newer riders, to learn with proper fueling, proper pedaling cadence, proper position on the bicycle. There's so much to learn that those types of riders can benefit more from coaching than your elite, tip of the spear type of riders. For sure.
So what type of different training plans do you have? Just kind of quick overview of what type of plans.
Yeah, VeloCoach, there's a basic plan, a pro plan, and an elite plan. Basic is it's basically for those who don't want a lot of contact with the coach. They don't want to be, communicating all the time. They just want to get a plan, and then get out there and ride. And with communication is needed, not a ton, but is needed for any questions they might have. They get Training Peaks account and several other things, onboarding meeting and all that kind of. And then we have the next level is the pro level. And basically the differences between all these are the amount of contact you have with the coach. Pro level, you have a little more contact as far as like online meetings, a little more frequently, and phone calls, texts. And then the premium or the elite plan, you get a premium Training Peaks account, which gives you a lot more functions and options to work with. You also get unlimited communication with me, texting, phone, communication through Training Peaks, any manner that's needed. So it basically the benefits go up a little bit with each level. So the basic plan is I try to keep them affordable too. That's one thing that some of these coaching services are just outrageous. I mean, they're charging quite a bit, and it's great. I mean, I want to offer the same service, but I try to keep the costs a little bit more affordable for people so that they can not be stressed about it, but plus have the opportunity to stay on for a longer time. So our basic plan is $99. The pro plan is $189, and the elite plan is $239. So that's kind of where we are for the different options.
And then you have a website. Name of it?
VeloCoach Elite.
Shameless plug here, man.
Yeah, so VeloCoachelite.com, and then we're also on Facebook as VeloCoach. We're on Instagram as VeloCoach Elite, and on the website you can reach out to us. We offer free consultations also if anybody's interested in discussing their situation and seeing what we can offer them and do for them. On the website, there's a way to request a free consultation. You can just get on there, message me. Email also, info@velocoachelite.com. You can put that in the show notes.
We'll do that. Definitely will. We'll be putting all those out there. And by the way, speaking of shameless plugs, everybody out there, Vint is actually a contributor to Colorado Avid Cyclists. If you go to our About Us page, he's down there, and we post his blogs from time to time. So, in fact, he was speaking about Zone 2. I've got one of his recent write-ups about Zone 2 training, and I believe it's entitled "Why," something referring to boredom, because most guys think it's boring. That's a classic, fight. I hated doing Zone. At first, I hated doing Zone 2 because it was 3 hours of boredom.
Yeah.
I'm too competitive, but once I found the benefits of it, it paid off big time.
Absolutely.
Big time. Yeah. So, well, that's awesome. And so you're accepting I take it you're accepting new clients.
Yeah. New athletes. Absolutely. Yep.
And no geographical limitations because it is an on
locally and remotely. So one kind of cool thing that's on the horizon with us is we're going to be launching this velocity platform. I don't know if you're familiar with Robbie Ventura, who rode for Motorola with Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, I remember the name. I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, he also worked NBC Sports. He did the Tour de France broadcast for a little while. Anyways, I've been working with his team. We're developing, or we're actually bringing on, kind of onboarding his platform. He has this new platform called Velocity, and it's going to be VeloCoach on Velocity. And what it is it's an online training platform where it's interactive. So I can see my athletes' pedaling style. I can take them through workouts. We can work on form on the bicycle, critique from pedaling, shifting changes, different things that can be adjusted and worked on. Which it's like real-time coaching, but it's done online. Because a lot of coaches these days, they coach remotely. They can't really ride with their clients or their athletes very frequently. So it gives you that opportunity to do that. Plus, it's a real interactive, fun gaming atmosphere where everybody's trying to hit their targets and power and cadence, and it's fun. And there's like a point system, and so we're going to be bringing that on board. It's coming soon. We're right in the middle of working with Robbie's team to get that up and running. So that's great for like remote athletes who are far away. We can get online and ride together also.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, that is awesome.
locally and remote both.
So are you racing at all anymore yourself?
I am. I've been doing Grand Fondos. Like I said, I was over in Europe, and
Yep.
then I'm going to be heading back again this year. I'm not going to do much, but I'm going to head over. I'm going to plan on doing one of the GFNY races in Cannes, France, in the southern part of France in the spring, and then hopefully go back. I usually go over a couple times a year over there. Hopefully, to hit one of the Belgian sportive classics also in the same time frame in March. So yeah, that's what I'm pretty much doing those now. It's fun.
Cool.
They're like the old road races. Like I said, it's great. I love it because it's like the historical road races we're used to back in the 80s, you know?
And I just, of any of the, time trial, crit, those two are my least favorite, both of them. I don't mind time trials. As I got older, crits are just not for me. It's just too fast, too crazy. And it's kind of like Formula One. When you get over 60, it just doesn't, you're just not speeding up and slowing down and going around corners like you did when you're in your 20s. And the bones are not quite they're a little more brittle.
Yeah.
But I love road races. Always have. I've always loved the long distance, and I'm moving over to gravel more than anything right now. And it's weird learning gravel from road. Very strange, but it took me a little while, but now I'm getting used to it because I just got my butt beat by washboards all the time. But
that's the hard part. Washboards, man. That's just there's no suspension, and you just like get jarred.
yeah. You feel it the next day. And wait 10 more years till you're my age, then we can really talk, and I'll laugh. So that's exciting. I'm really excited for you. And like I said to everybody out there, there'll always be blog posts from him and contact information from Vint on our website at coloradoavidcyclist.com. Anything else you'd like to mention before we sign off for the night?
No, I mean, maybe the only thing is one thing. My coaching primarily focuses on road, gravel, and cross-country mountain bike. Obviously any road disciplines, criterium racing, and cross-country mountain bike racing. So, and the road. So that's pretty much, I don't do track racing. My whole idea and philosophy is if I haven't raced it, I'm not going to coach it. I'm not going to, I understand the disciplines in track, but I don't coach track cycling. But so road, cross-country mountain biking, gravel racing, just typical century type riding, any of that. So that's the specialty. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yeah.
Or today, and it's been a great time. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you being on board, and definitely, like I said, we'll be posting stuff about you, obviously, and always look for Vint on our blog page and our About Us page because he is a great contributor and his information is awesome. And you can read some of that stuff and you get a good taste of what he does and what he represents. So have a great night, Vint. Once again, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it.